Good morning, good morning, good morning, everybody. Hi, welcome back. Wow, what a finale, not a finale, a reunion. What a reunion. The Real Housewives of New York reunion part 1 last night. I don't even know where to begin. Of course, I have formatted where to begin, but wow, guys. So Tinsley exposing the real reason that Dorinda was actually angry with her when we didn't know what was actually happening since the very beginning of the season, why Dorinda was so bitter. That was crazy. Just seeing a social distance reunion, that was insane. We're gonna jump into all of it, guys. But before we do, I just wanted to say thank you guys again so much for all of the love and support. And most importantly, guys, today's 9/11. So I have a timer right here on my computer. I'm just going to take 10 seconds of just silence, just respectfully to everyone who suffered from 9/11. And it was just an awful time in our history. So just 10 seconds, guys, go. Thank you, guys. And now with that, I just wanted to address that, of course, because that was such a big moment in our history. And, guys, today we're doing Popping Off on Pop Culture with Pops. And Pops was a vet who served in Vietnam. So I'm sure he's going to have a lot to say about that today. But that's at 1 o'clock, 1 p.m. PST. For now, we're covering the reunion, part 1 of Real Housewives of New York, season 12, episode 22. So let's just jump right in, okay? So all of the ladies are arriving. Everyone seems like they're excited. And, Andy's outside greeting everyone. Tinsley shows up. She shows up in like this ball gown. She looks like she's ready to go. And she's like, I don't really care, but everyone's going to kind of listen to me. Ramona shows up. She looks fresh-faced, of course, because she spent her quarantine in Florida. Luann, I guess, shows up after working this whole quarantine on her cabaret and her new book. And Dorinda looks a little bit bitter. I'm not going to lie. As we see in the synopsis for this whole show, it says, before the cast members relive some of the most outrageous moments of the season, they're first going to address one of the cast members and their bad quarantine-like behavior. So obviously, guys, we know who that is. They're talking about Ramona, and Ramona, yeah, her quarantine behavior was a little bit of a problem. She was running around living her best life, which wasn't the problem, but she wasn't wearing a mask and following code, allegedly. So that kind of is what I thought the real problem would have been. But for Leah, that wasn't the problem. For Leah, the problem was just the idea that you can be enjoying yourself every day when everybody else is out there suffering. So I think Leah was off on the mark. I think more so just not following the guidelines, but we'll get into that. Leah pretty much calls out Ramona for the whole quarantine in Florida. She calls her out with this social media, wearing a mask and flipping her the bird, letting her know, hey, we don't stand with you and your behavior is disgusting. Obviously, this was either a clever ploy to lead into the reunion to give her more of a storyline, or Leah's just speaking up because now she has a platform and we're in a pandemic, so what else does she have to do? But she did it. Andy brings up when Dorinda was upset because Ramona went to a Donald Trump Jr. party. When she did right after Donald Trump Jr.'s wife allegedly was diagnosed or tested positive for COVID. And once she tested positive, Dorinda was upset about the fact that Ramona even attended a party, period, in the middle of a pandemic when you're supposed to be social distancing. I mean, really, why show up to a reunion with a mask on and act like you're all sanitized and everything if you're bumping elbows with everybody and their brother down in South Florida? And I think that's pretty much the point that they're trying to make at this time. Guys, 104 in the room. That's awesome. Everyone, please hit the like button. And yeah, let's see if we can get to 150. I have my Sip Don't Spill mug today, so we'll see what kind of day it is. Just saying. But no, Dorinda was upset about the whole COVID thing too. And Ramona says, I was safe. I wore a mask. I don't owe anything to you. B word. That was to Leah. But okay. Again, Leah said it's not about being safe. It's about just kind of being aware that society is suffering at the moment and you're just out having the best time with your daughter and your ex-husband. Although Andy did want to know, is there any chance of a reconciliation with Mario? And she's like, no. She feels like he doesn't satisfy her needs at this point in her life. But at least she's honest with us. Once all of the women start screaming back and forth about the quarantine and all of that crap, Andy finally screams, stop, like quiet, let me talk. And Andy, be careful what you wish for. I know I said this in my recap, but you wanted to get back into an in-person reunion, and you said that you were done with the Zoom reunion. So what do you think now? I know that you said you needed a drink after that reunion, and I'm sure you had several, but again, this didn't disappoint for me. We end up getting a flashback of Leah's journey, and, we see how she navigates parenting, her modern day parenthood with Rob and her little drunken stupors. And we talk about how she was sober about 10 years before she started the show. So alcohol really wasn't even on her mind because she had such a tumultuous relationship with alcohol in the beginning. So she took the 10 years off, and then 9 months before, or not 9 months, but right before starting the show, the spring, she started drinking again. So she spent 9 months of just nonstop drinking. And she said, hey, listen, if I was going to do that, at least I did it with these women. There's no one else I would rather do that with. Now, my biggest question is, what are you talking about? Half of these women, one's saying that you're drinking while you're on bipolar medication. The other one's saying that you're D-Class A for your tattoos. The other one's pretty much calling you all over the place and messy. These aren't your friends that you want to drink with. If you want to drink with your friends, people that'll take care of you, not people who are going to throw you in front of a camera and wait for you to embarrass yourself on national television. Come on, Leah, get with it. That's just my opinion. But just moving on, obviously Bunny was not happy with it. Leah kind of struggles with her relationship with her mother. Her mom doesn't like the drinking, and her dad's a little bit more relaxed. Her dad may not like the drinking, but as we saw in the reunion, her dad really likes Sonia Morgan. And Sonia Morgan really likes to drink. They all went around the room and started talking about their kind of opinions, which kicked off by Luann, about Leah. Leah, she was a tough cookie this season. She came in guns blazing. And Luann said that. Luann said that she believes Leah was tough but vulnerable. Sonia said that she feels like Leah was a great listener and she didn't judge. Dorinda said that she felt like Leah offered us a different angle. And I couldn't agree with any of them more. I feel like she was a fresh face for the franchise. And honestly, a lot of you guys are replying and responding and saying Leah was too drunk and she was all over the place and it was too much. And who wants to watch that? All the alcohol. But guys, you're watching the same thing with Ramona, Sonia, and Luann. Luann just got arrested, almost assaulted a police officer. And Dorinda, she's a drunk mess this season. Ramona gets drunk too. And Sonia, she's seen her day. Even Bethany has seen her drunken day. So like Leah said in the reunion, all of these other women, they get to drink all of the time. And then when it comes to me, if I drink, if I talk about sex, if I do anything like that, then it's a problem. And that's not necessarily fair. So with that point being made, I'm Team Leah because that's not fair. They hold her to a different standard. And why? She's younger. If anything, they hold themselves to a higher standard, but then they act like a bunch of fools. I don't know. I can't figure these women out. I'm going to take a drink. Sip, don't spill. Leah reflects back and she says that, again, she started back drinking right before the show, but she didn't start drinking because of the show. Now, since the show has taken a hiatus, obviously since it started, airing and they haven't been filming, most of the women, except for Ramona, have stopped drinking, including Leah. So she's not drinking anymore. Luann's supposedly not drinking anymore. Everyone except Ramona, who claims that when she goes out, she drinks water. It's not alcohol that she's drinking, and that's why she's so thin. Which Dorinda responds with, "You're actually not that thin," which wasn't very nice, Dorinda. That wasn't nice, and that's why people are coming after you. But we do get it, speaking of drinking, a flashback to all of the drinking moments this season. And I'm surprised because, like Andy addressed at the reunion, one of the fans reached in and said, listen, it was almost cringeworthy to watch this season. All of the alcoholism and the antics, it was almost too much. Andy agreed and went around the room and asked the women if they regret any of their behavior. I think that this almost felt like a moment of deflection from Dorinda because Dorinda said, yeah, I think we all around the room regret some of our behaviors. And she's really never taking it on herself or just kind of speaking on behalf of herself. She's kind of using everybody else in the room as a ploy because whatever she's done, they've done it too. But what Andy's pretty much saying is like, you're deflecting. This is really, when I ask you a question, I'm talking about you, not all of the other women in the room. I agree with that, Andy. But after the reunion, thank you. Hi, Grandma Scary. Everybody's coming into the room now. Guys, 175 in the room. Let's hit 200. Go on to my next page of notes here. And then I'm going to start taking callers, guys, because, again, I already did the recap. So if you didn't watch it, I'm just covering it really quick for you guys. I'm going boom, boom, boom. And then all of a sudden, I'm going to take the callers, drop the link, because I want to hear what you guys think about last night's reunion, really. Because, again, I already recapped this. But real quick, Lou didn't want to get labeled again this season, so she was extremely careful about her drinking. She was careful about drinking, her alcoholism, because, again, she's been through it. And a fan pointed out that Dorinda becomes mean when approached about her drinking. Dorinda protected herself in this moment by saying she doesn't like when people are accusatory with her. She feels uncomfortable. Again, it almost felt like she was deflecting. Ramona said that, or not Ramona, but Sonia said if she ever looked drunk, it wasn't that she was drunk, it was her meds or whatever. But Sonia, we've seen you on both. She's like, when I threw out my water pills, all of you guys knew that I wasn't drunk anymore because I was a completely different person. It's like, no, Sonia, you still get drunk, okay? Then we end up obviously covering Tinsley and her fairy tale ending, and this is where we get the big boom on Dorinda. So when Andy pans over to Tinsley and starts talking to her about being the new princess of Chicago and leaving mid-season, asking her if Scott gave an ultimatum, me or housewives, and really addressing all the hard-ass questions, Tinsley answered them. She said, listen, I was waiting for my fairy tale ending. I love Scott. I was dating a guy named Bruce in Chicago. And I think really I was just dating this guy, Bruce, to get to Scott. I think I was trying to play mind games. And like Andy said, you like mind games. And like Ramona said, it worked. It worked. She got back with Scott. So she just addresses the fact that if her and Scott were to get together like that and they wanted to move forward and get married, she needed to go to Chicago and quit the show. And that's what she did. She followed love, not the show, which Dorinda was kind of upset about because she's like, I don't get that. Scott met you on the show. So if Scott met you on the show, why does he all of a sudden have a problem with you being on the show? That doesn't make sense. He can thank the show for you two meeting him. And like Tinsley said, why does it matter? Actually, I'm kind of team Tinsley in this instance because seriously, why does it matter? If Scott sees certain behaviors or the way that the women treat Tinsley on the show and she comes home and she's just a wreck at home because she's crying or not pleasant to be around or always not in a good mood, that also affects Scott. And Scott wants to be married to this woman. So if they're always upsetting her and she's just this force to be reckoned with, I can understand why Scott doesn't want her on the show. Especially Coupon King doesn't need her to be on the show, even though she should be financially independent herself, but she has a trust. She's fine. She's fine. Andy agreed that it was mean when Dorinda talked about the turkey baster comment, which it was mean. And Dorinda apologized. She said that it was a joke and it went too far or whatever. Andy's like, well, it was a mean joke. Viewers didn't get to see a lot of the behind the scenes, but Tinsley pointed out that Dorinda, all of this anger started when Dorinda found out that Scott gave John a loan. So guys, they were in Miami at the time. And when you saw the flashback at the reunion, I was shocked. I didn't realize that all of this happened. And no wonder Dorinda doesn't like Tinsley. Dorinda comes from means. She may not come from it, but she had it, okay, in her last marriage. So Dorinda had means, and she obviously isn't going to fund John's life. But when John went around Dorinda to her group of friends or within her group of friends to someone that Dorinda didn't actually like, she flipped. And even now it makes more sense why the producers don't like Dorinda, because Tinsley even pointed out at the reunion that the producers stated that they were afraid for Tinsley's safety because Dorinda was so mad, which has nothing to do with Tinsley because Tinsley wasn't the one who gave John the money. It wasn't Tinsley's fault. But I think what Dorinda was thinking is, now you're going to try to make me look weak and make it look like my guy got a loan from your guy and hold this over my head when I don't really think that was Tinsley's MO to begin with. But it does explain why we have all of the hatred spewing from Dorinda. And at the end, Dorinda just goes, Tinsley, I hate your life. And Tinsley said, I think that she's actually obsessed with it. Guys, 260 in the room. That's awesome. Everybody go ahead and like this video. It helps tremendously. I'm dropping the link now, so all of you guys call in. I can't wait to talk Real Housewives of New York with you guys. And then don't forget, today we're also doing at 1 p.m. PST, popping off on Pop Culture with Pops. And then tonight we're doing the block party. So the block party is with Sherelle on Sherelle's World, and that's at 7 p.m. And usually we cover, most of you guys know, but a lot of TLC stuff and some other stuff pops in. It depends what you guys bring up. All right, guys, the link is dropped. I'm going to start taking callers. Hi, Lourdes. How are you? Oh, it's froze. I'll bring her back up. Good morning, Jamal.
Hey, what's going on?
How are you?
Good, how are you?
Good. So what did you think finally getting to see a reunion again that wasn't on Zoom?
It was fun. It was very fun to see them like face to face. No one can run. Andy's about to lose his mind because they're talking over him as usual. So that was great. But one of the things I found very interesting is that no one called out Ramona about her Lyme disease. So why are you traveling and you have Lyme disease, which is an autoimmune issue?
Do you think, though, that nobody is calling this out because of how it was handled in Real Housewives of Beverly Hills and that they're afraid to touch it?
No, it's weird because she opened the door when she said, I was tested with the Lyme disease and blah, 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 blah. So she opened that door. So they should have caught on to that. I'm like, okay. Okay, Ramona, we're going to let you have that.
But Lyme disease, so you're not supposed to travel with Lyme disease?
No, because people with weakened immune systems should not travel. And Lyme disease is an autoimmune disease. So, no, she should not have been traveling.
I didn't know that.
Which I was thought, like, okay, interesting, Ramona. But you've had, and she had the antibodies, so she actually had COVID. I'm like, what? I'm like, that didn't make sense. But we'll move on.
Well, didn't Yolanda travel a lot when she had Lyme? She was going back and forth to New York, right?
Right, but not during a pandemic, though. That's the difference.
Okay, fair.
So yeah,
fair. Then,
go ahead.
What would you say though was your favorite part of last night's reunion? Then
I think my favorite part was when Tinsley actually stuck up for herself. Finally, I'm like, where were you this whole season? Where was this girl who actually stood her ground, had no issue speaking up, and it was just great to see that from her. And also, I don't understand why the women were mad. I'm just going to throw a theory out here. I actually think they all knew she wasn't going to be there the whole season. Here's the reason why. It's because the way it played out, she actually got to film her leaving versus her just being cut out of scenes. Like, you can't tell me, like, you guys don't know the production schedule, where you're supposed to be, who you're supposed to be with, and what's going to happen. You can't tell me you don't know that.
Well, not only that, thank you, Kathy, Grandma Scary, and Mirielli, for the super stickers. I appreciate you. But not only that, Jamal, when they were doing the tea party and they're like asking Tinsley, why are you crying? When they start asking her about going on a date, and she's like, because I didn't think it was going to work. She was sneaking behind the scenes and meeting with Scott. I feel like trying to make this tough decision. And I think the women, yes, they probably knew, but they probably didn't think that she was going to break her contract like that mid-season.
Well, I think what it was, I think they maybe knew something, but I think they knew a little bit prior to filming. You kind of have to, because the way the scenes are formatted and the scheduling, you guys can't not know she's not going to be there past mid-season. And I don't really think she broke her contract. I think they let her out of it because of the situation, her issues with Dorinda, her new life, and also, who's to say they won't start a new Real Housewives of Chicago? And who better to start with Tinsley, as she'll be there for a couple years. She'll probably be married to Scott, probably have a kid or two, and she'll probably have a cool circle of Chicago friends. So why would they burn that bridge?
Yeah, but I feel like Chicago, and I could be wrong, but I feel like some of the Chicago girls, like, Tinsley might be a little soft. And I think she might be a little bit soft, period, for Housewives. I think that she came in to the reunion like a little bit more brute and like ready to handle business. But I think she came in that way only because she knew it's like now or never. It's like I get this one chance to kind of clear myself, and I don't have to come back and face these witches next year,
True, but when Tinsley came into the show, she wasn't in the best of spaces. She was trying to rebuild herself, so she really wasn't in the space to fight. And I don't think I agree, she's a little soft for Housewives, but I think her moving on from this particular Housewives is going to help her grow and be the woman that she should be at her age, because she should be a little bit more secure in herself. Like, she made a tough decision to leave New York, go to Chicago, be with her man, do what she wants to do. So I think I really don't think she broke her contract, because another reason is because, like, if she had really broken her contract, that would have been released to the blogs. It would have. We would have.
Well, you don't think Scott could have bought her out of it?
I don't think she. I mean, if he did, it's possible. But I'm saying is, like, if she actually, like, if it was a terrible breakup with Bravo, we would have heard about it. The blogs would have had it. It would be on page 6.
And they wouldn't have given her the respectful fair, like, bid off. They would have just given her the mid-season kind of bye. I don't think they would have given her the technically the reunion farewell.
Totally, like, gave her the opportunity to, like you said, film it, like, respectfully, and she got invited back to reunion, like
the full reunion, not even halfway.
They didn't do a Vicky tour, like, well, Vicky, you can't sit on the couch, girl.
No, I agree with you. I'm gonna bring up a few other callers real quick with us. Hi, Erica. Hi, Lourdes.
Hi.
Hi, how are you?
I love your show.
Oh no, I can't.
Wow, I'll keep you around.
Hi guys, can you hear me?
Hi. All right, so Lourdes, Erica, we'll start with you, Erica.
Hi.
What was your favorite part of last night's reunion?
Oh, I mean, definitely towards the end when they were showing more of the Dorinda stuff, but I just loved it because it was way better than Beverly Hills. So I was like, finally some fun drama and being it in person.
Yeah, that definitely changed the whole dynamic. And I think Beverly Hills was so cringeworthy this week that honestly, I feel like New York could have been half as good and we still would have been happy with it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Lourdes, what was your favorite part?
My favorite part was actually that backstage scene we got about what the real beef was between Dorinda and Tinsley. I thought that was just great. I wish they would have showed it in the season. It would have made more sense, about why Dorinda was so vicious towards Tinsley.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy that they're just connecting those dots for us now. And now, this whole time, everybody kept saying, like insiders and bloggers, Dorinda was having problems with all of these producers, and producers didn't want to deal with her because she had this aggressive drinking behavior, whatever. Now watching it and watching how scary she was in that moment, it makes sense as to, like, it's good to be able to put a scene with what they're talking about or alluding to. And that was a good scene for us to understand, okay, maybe if producers have to get Tinsley out of there because they're afraid for her safety, yeah, Dorinda could be a problem.
Do we think that...
I know, but Adam, let me ask you this. Why did they cut that out in the first place?
I can answer that, I think.
Yeah, go ahead, Jamal.
I think at this point, they were sick of Dorinda, so they crafted a narrative to make her look not the best. And what better way to make her look bad than cut out a pivotal scene that would explain her behavior? That's just my thought. There's no other reason to cut that scene out, because it would tie everything together, even though her anger was misplaced. But you felt context.
Like in the previous seasons, though, do you think they cut it to keep her looking, to not like just make her look terrible? They wanted to keep people liking her, and now finally, since she's on her way out, they were just like, okay, let's have it.
Oh yeah, she's on her way out. Let's just burn her and let it go.
Okay.
That makes sense. Definitely.
Okay, I kind of have a thought about Dorinda, and I've been thinking, or about Tinsley and Scott, and I've been thinking this for a while. I have no proof or anything, obviously, but just like Dorinda said, I think it's weird that they met on the show, but then suddenly he was so weird about her being on the show. And I kind of feel like Scott's really manipulative and possibly turning into mentally abusive, because it's really strange. And I'm wondering because I don't know if you follow mainly Bravo on Instagram, but she even posted this theory that is completely no proof or anything, that somebody claims that Dorinda saw something between Tinsley and Scott.
Like aggressive behavior?
Yes.
Well, see that, there definitely is a disconnect here, and Dorinda's not just angry about the Scott John thing. You know, obviously I think that there has to be more to the story. And I think that Dorinda kind of feels like she said, you know, Tinsley's not being the most forthcoming with her storyline, but Tinsley might be trying to protect something. You know, it would make sense if Scott didn't want Tinsley to be on camera if he had this aggressive behind the scenes behavior, but also Tinsley knows that or not Tinsley knows that. That's not the best way to answer this, but I think Tinsley feels like there's a clock for her in order to find love and find a man and get a family and really bag it in while she feels like she looks a certain way, you know, and I think her mom helps put that pressure on her a little bit, but yeah, she might deal with crappy behavior just to have that fairy tale life.
And I think also with that, like just that, Dorinda doesn't have like respect for that because she feels such pain from like her life with Richard that she holds a lot of judgment towards Tinsley.
You know what this reminds me of, Erica? Now you mentioned this. This reminds me of Beverly Hills season 2 with the whole Taylor situation when everyone knew and saw things, but really didn't say anything because Taylor would always bring Russell around, be like things are okay, but in private would go and cry to him. So I think you make a very good point.
Yeah, I think there's a lot more behind the scenes happening, but it's all like little parts that are coming together.
Okay. Lourdes, Erica, I'm going to go ahead, stay on, and I'm going to go ahead and drop you down for 2 seconds, and I'm going to bring up a couple other callers.
Okay. Bye-bye.
All right. And Jamal, I feel like you're helping me mediate a little bit, so I'm gonna keep you on until you mess up, Jamal, and then we got to cut you, man.
All right.
Okay.
Hi.
Hey.
Hi, Shannon. Hi, Angela. How are you? Hi. All right. So let's go. We'll start up at the top. Jamal and I have already spoken, so take it away. What was our favorite part of the reunion?
I was real excited that Tinsley, for the first time, spoke up for herself. I was so happy to see that. But I think Tinsley is over the show. She was glad to leave. I think she really wanted to start a family. I think she wants to get pregnant. She wants to be a wife and a mother. But one thing that caught my eye was Andy. Andy was so cold to Dorinda. He was so mean to her, and he was so cold to her. I mean, every time when she would open her mouth to talk, he would be rolling his eyes.
But didn't you kind of feel like she came in with this? I felt like she entered in with a little bit of an aggressive demeanor, and even when Tinsley tried to start talking about the whole what really happened, and she broke the whole John and Scott thing, Dorinda was trying to cut her off and not let her explain the story, and Andy was like, "No, let her talk," and she's like, "That's simply not true. That's not true," and she had that fake laugh.
Yeah, but Adam, you know what? I think that there is something seriously going on with her in her mind. I think that something is terribly going on with her. I think that she needs to seek some help because it's just like she's fighting with demons within herself.
Did anyone see that article that came out recently about Dorinda? So basically the article said that she went to Andy and wanted to take the year off, that she needed a break. But since Bethany had left at the beginning, what else had happened? Like there was a couple reasons why she stayed. Tinsley was leaving mid-season, which lets me know like you guys already knew she was leaving mid-season in the first place. So she felt like if I leave, who's left? Like you can't have a season of just like Luann, Sonia, and Leah, I mean that's just not enough. So she felt like she had to stay. But
right.
She it's not like she recognized she needed a break, but she just felt like
she
couldn't.
No, that's fair. Shan, what do you think?
What do I think, or what's my favorite part?
Throw it at us, whatever you feel.
I have my favorite parts. There were a few things. One was hearing Andy's dad voice, how many times he had to like put on his dad pants and tell them to shut up. That was awesome because usually he keeps his composure for the first part of the reunion. It takes him a bit to get there.
We usually get to part 2 at least. You're right.
Right? And then I have to say, I know this is corny, but I really love knowing where the wing tattoo came from.
Listen, I think that this is one of the things that I love about Leah the most. And we don't all have to go into our own experiences, but a lot of us, we went through college or we went through school, even high school, or had experiences with our friends. And some of the other women have dabbled in many other things on that panel. And Leah's just forthcoming. She's like, yeah, hallucinogens, and I got some wings on my, and I'm not going to say it. It's like, what?
I loved it. I loved knowing that and seeing that. It was really funny. And then I think I also just really enjoyed reviewing. This is going to sound really silly, but I really liked seeing all the drinking montage again. I really enjoyed seeing it condensed.
Yeah, and a lot of people too, they're screaming out about the fact like that this drinking this season was just so awful to watch. And I get what everyone's saying. It's like you don't want to, it's almost taxing on you to turn on the TV and just see screaming hear screaming all the time and just see a bunch of drunks. And sometimes my fiance will even say like, can you please turn that off? It's 8:00 in the morning. I don't want to hear a bunch of women screaming at each other. And it changes your energy, but also that is the Housewives. That's what we watch. Conflict, resolution, everyday issues. It's like, you have to find a different network if that's not what you know?
I think with Leah, the problem is not the drinking per se. I think the issue is like she hadn't drank in such a long time that her body wasn't used to it, so it hit her way harder, and she really wasn't managing it properly.
And she's this big. She's tiny.
Yeah, so I think it's the level of drunkenness she got to. It just was a bit much for everyone. It was fairly consistent behavior throughout the season, so that does wear on you. It's like, okay, like we've seen this. There's only so many times you can get stupidly drunk and then apologize. We're kind of sick of it.
Agree, but the way that they put it together in the reunion, it made it like the way it used to be, right? Like they condensed it to all fun drunk moments as opposed to the messy, like I can't watch. Yeah. So
Angela?
I bet Andy missed his mute button last night. He missed muting the ladies last night.
What was your favorite part of the reunion, Angela?
Leah's dress.
Leah's dress? Yeah, and if you saw, I love how she had the gloves and she had the rings over her knee. I mean, Leah, again, that's what we love about her. She's a fresh take.
Yeah.
Tinsley showed up in a freaking ball gown. I feel like it was still pretty, but I felt like it was prom.
I think that you can't blame Dorinda for going in. She probably knew she was fired before that.
So you agree with Jamal?
She probably knew that was going to come out about John borrowing the money, and so she would have had an attitude going in.
No, that makes sense.
Yeah,
that makes sense.
She was just basically like, okay, look, because you could tell by her face, she was just on 15. She was ready. She was ready to burn down the whole set if she had to. She didn't care. She knew she was gone. So she's like, you know what? If you're gonna fire me, I'm gonna send you out in the blaze of glory. And she just went in. I was like, yeah, that's. And Andy, like, compared to what he did with Beverly Hills, I felt he was a little bit more fair this reunion. I'm like, okay, I can deal with you here. And real quick, a theory on Beverly Hills. The reason why, in my opinion, Andy got so involved because he knew Beverly Hills was flopping. He knew that reunion was sucking. So he's like, let me just interject and give us something to work with. So while this reunion, he just let the ladies go in until he got frustrated and then he started yelling.
I agree. Angela, there's a little bit of mic static. I'm going to have to go ahead and drop you down for a minute, and then I'll bring you back up at the end to say our last goodbyes. But not goodbye, though, because we're going to see you for popping off with Pops. All right.
Thank you.
Of course. And then I'm going to go ahead and bring up a few other callers. I have Leslie, Faria. Faria, did I say that right?
Oh, it's Faria.
Faria. Okay, I don't want to say that wrong. Hi, Faria. How are you?
Maria like Maria.
Hi. It's a pleasure.
All right. Faria like Maria. So Leslie, we had you come on first. Tell us, what was your favorite moment of last night's reunion?
More than what was my favorite moment, like seriously, after this, I couldn't thank God enough for these pills. Like if you ever had them, like you need to get them. And these ladies definitely need to get them. So it's like a vitamin. You take it before you start drinking. You never get to that level. And you don't have a hangover the next day. Like, I don't know.
You're saying you don't look like you're out of a Tarzan sequel, like swinging from the curtain?
No, it's just, I don't understand. And then they want to be taken seriously, but these are not actions of people who actually want to be taken seriously, whether professionally or personally. Like, and then you want to get really angry and get angry at each other, but you're all acting a fool all the time. Like, how could you ever demand respect from somebody when, like, you are the antithesis of an adult? Like, you're not like a grown-up. This is not adult behavior.
You know, and I almost want to piggyback on this for 1 second too, because it's almost like Denise from Real Housewives of Beverly Hills. Had she have really owned that she hooked up with Brandy and was just like, yeah, what's it to you? Whatever, mind your own business. This wouldn't have been a storyline all season, and it wouldn't have been a big deal. Like Lisa Rinna said, the cover up was bigger than the story. And for Dorinda, it's like she keeps on deflecting when being asked the hard alcohol questions, and she's like, I feel like it comes off accusatory or whatever. It's like, just own it. Like Rinna says, if you just say, yeah, you know, sometimes I get carried away, I get drunk, and whatever, I'm not even going to deflect on these other women. I can be a B word sometimes and be crazy. It is what it is.
Yeah, exactly. Like, yes, I like attention. Like, I got dragged to a book signing party for that horrible book from Brandy that Brandy put out.
What is it? Don't tweet and don't drink and tweet?
I have no idea because I couldn't get out of there quick enough.
My favorite is that Brandy still says to Andy's like, so what have you had done?
I looked like, I don't think I'm that fat, but I look like a beach whale next to that woman. Like, my friends are like all in close with her in the picture, and I'm literally like this. I'm like,
I met Brandy in West Hollywood coming out of the bathroom, and I didn't notice who she was until she walked out. But I looked up and I was like, holy, she's a very tall woman. She's a big little woman.
Yeah, it's kind of disturbing to watch.
No, it's not disturbing. I didn't say that. She's just a big little woman.
That it disturbed me. Like, I'm used to like real life people. I don't live in LA. I visit LA a lot, and it always like shocks me when I see these real thin people who are like that tall.
Well, just in all fairness, I have a huge family, like 11 brothers and sisters scattered all over the United States, and when I go to visit South Florida or, you know, like California or New York or wherever I go all over, it seems like there's just a different kind of people and how people dress.
Yeah,
in LA,
different, like normal. In LA, it's like rail thin, mile high. That's
really not this. It's crazy. It's really not the stigma anymore. People, you walk around and it's total body positivity in LA. It's just like it doesn't matter what size, shape you are. It's more so like, I'm just gonna put a pair of floss over it and love myself. So it doesn't matter if you're this big or this big.
I mean, one of my
here is just for it.
She's a body positivity model, and she's from LA originally. And this girl is gorgeous. Like, she is stunning, and really one of the people that's like at the forefront of this movement. Like,
yeah, because this whole, you know, and I don't want to use her name because she's a friend of ours. Well, I don't care actually. You know, if you've ever heard of, back in the day, Janice Dickinson, she was one of the original supermodels, and she coined the phrase, and she'll tell you. And she used to have a part of her show was her acting out and telling women how not cute they were, how big they were. They weren't skinny enough. They're too old. They're too, everything that was wrong with those women. And now today, it's just not like that. Like, it's, I mean, maybe the agents are like that, but
he brought back the booty.
Yeah.
So quick question with the Housewives.
Yeah.
Is it possible that their main issue is that they drink more than they actually eat at these dinners, at these lunches? Because if you notice, they'll have all this food, but they really just don't eat anything. So the fact that they're drinking about 3 times as much as they're eating could be the problem. And then also Bravo just supplies copious amounts of alcohol as well.
And
I wouldn't trust eating on camera.
Maybe that's the issue of it, because, you know, they're in a demographic, like age-wise, where they still are with that stigma. Like, I'm going to be 43 years old soon. Like, I understand, like, that's what I grew up with. Like, if you weren't super skinny and super, like, blonde and whatever, like, I feel like they're still, like, stuck in the 90s somehow, you know? Like,
Adam, did you say you wouldn't trust eating on camera?
Yeah, because this is the only reason why. Not because I would feel ashamed of eating on camera. Listen, I have the worst diet ever. I will eat fish sticks and chicken nuggets and pizza, and I'm like a 12-year-old, okay? Like a really bad 12-year-old. But when I say that, I mean because the Bravo is so shady with their little cutouts and their inserts. If they catch you and they would do like a 3-second clip of you like me listening to, or I'll give you an example. Lisa Rinna going to listen to a conversation and leaning in and then accidentally misses her mouth with the fork. Like just stupid stuff like that. They wait for those moments.
Camera is never good.
Yeah, they'll make a meme out of you. That's what I meant. Not like
Okay.
Yeah.
I was just curious because it's like, why are you guys like getting so drunk? Because I'll be honest, I've never been drunk a day in my life, so I have no clue what that's like. But it's just like, how are you guys like?
Jamal, have you never been drunk a day in your life?
Oh no, because it would be terrible for the people around me because I have no filter anyway. I have no problem telling you about yourself sober. So could you imagine me with no filter?
I actually want to see it.
I think I'm going to buy you a drink.
I can drink. I can drink a lot. Oakland, California. That's home.
Hey, listen, we're gonna be right up there in Lodi with Pop. So
I'm in LA in November. Like I'm back to work. Like we should get together and get Jamal drunk. Like can we do that?
Yeah. Pops doesn't drink either, so I guess they won't be bringing Pops when we come up to NorCal. But no, with that we have 40 minutes on the clock. I think we really covered most of the stuff from the reunion. But let's just go around real quick before we end this and say, I guess, what you're hoping to get out of this reunion, since we have more to see, like what you're looking forward to most. I'm curious because I really don't know for myself, but I'll put it on Leslie first. You go.
I'm curious to see the realness that comes out without the alcohol involved. I'm curious to see with a sober mind how they actually dissect what happened and their reactions and their explanations for their actions.
So you're
I really want to see them sober, dissecting what they did drunk, and like finding.
Do you think those women haven't had a drink yet on that reunion?
Well, I'm sure they haven't had as many drinks as they normally would.
That's fair. Because
I think their tolerance level is pretty high. So if you have 2 glasses of wine when you're used to having 7, I think they're fine.
This is just a quick off to the side, but when I first moved out here, one of my first friends out here was Sheena, who does VPR, and she would not drink when she was going on camera because she always wanted to make sure, she learned after her first season, she wanted to make sure she remembered exactly what was said, and she wanted to make sure that she said, Adam, they get so vicious, like everyone gets so vicious, and then you don't remember what was talked about, and like Bravo hands you the drinks, and it's a recipe for disaster, but for a great reality TV show. But if you're the person who they're relying on to deliver that show, you got to be there too.
Yeah, like I said, one of my good friends used to do reality TV, and she told me flat out, we supply so much booze, and we lock them into half of the house that you actually see on camera. That's okay. Do it on purpose.
All right. And then Shan, what are you looking forward to most?
Digging in a little bit further to the Scott, Tinsley, John, Dorinda business.
Yeah, that's not over yet for sure. Mm-mm. No. Jamal?
I want to see if Sonia will call out Dorinda for her treatment of her. I want to see if Sonia will tell Dorinda like how she feels about how Dorinda treated her throughout the season. I kind of felt that Dorinda like really came at Sonia hard in some instances. I was just like, well, that's not really necessary. It's not really warranted. So I want to see Sonia like stick up for herself a little bit, because Sonia seems a lot stronger this season with her. She's actually got her clothing line in Century 21. She's trying to sell her townhouse. So I think she's moving in the right direction of life. And this would be a good step for her to finally stick up for herself and not have other people do it for her.
I agree with that. And I do want to point out something, too, that we didn't talk about. But it's always cringeworthy when you watch one of the housewives insult another housewife, right? Like when we saw Bethany rip Luann in the Berkshires, and when it just gets so kind of aggressive, it's like, ugh. But even watching Dorinda tell Ramona, like, you're not that thin, I was like, that's not cute. And then we turn around and we see the preview for next week where she's defending her reasoning for body shaming Sonia. And it's like, wait a minute, you just got body shamed yourself. Why are you doing that? And Ramona's like, well, you could afford to lose a little bit. Like, it's like, That's dumb.
Stuck in the 90s. Like,
yeah, that's dumb. That's a dumb thing to say. Just like when she walked in and said, what did she say word for word about the people who were lined up? She said, oh, I have all of these. It wasn't.
Oh, servant.
Did she say servant? Yeah, it was just. Sometimes it's like you got to be a little bit more aware, man. It's not cute.
Pandemic, like to hear servants.
It's not cute. In 2020, I think one of my biggest things that I'm looking forward to in this reunion, I probably am going to piggyback off of what Shan said, because I do want to see that. I want to see how Dorinda and how Andy handles this whole thing. But I think what I look forward to most is in 2021, now that we've seen all of this change and that Bravo's willing to be ruthless and cut whoever they have to, and that culturally things have to be changed in the way the platform is and the way that the formatting and things are filmed. I'm curious to see what the housewives are going to be like in 2021.
I'll talk to you guys later. Have to answer this.
Bye, Leslie.
Bye.
I agree. I hope they really look at bringing more diversity to the housewives across the board. I mean, OC, I may, just as off topic, OC, I just may just watch it just to review it, but yeah, no.
Yeah, the only thing I'm really excited about for OC is probably the newbie Elizabeth Vargas, because she's apparently like this like pit bull of a personality, just very kind of like at everyone. She's a CEO of a music company and she's best friends with Kelly Dodd. If that tells us anything, she's a shark, and I'm excited to see a shark come in.
I'm just excited to see a show without an OG for like the first time. That's a totally new format.
Yeah, because who on Orange County would be the oldest now at this point? Is it Shannon?
It's Shannon.
God, and she's like the. I got to get an interview with Shannon, so I'm not going to say anything bad. But sometimes that screaming and the overreactions, I'm like, it's too much for me. But all right, Shan, Jamal, we're doing Popping Off with Pops on Pop Culture at 1 p.m. So if you guys are around, we'll see you then. Thank you guys again so much for calling. And Shan, I love your shirt.
Me too. Guys,
all right, guys.
Go to the link.
Yeah, go to the link. Thanks, Shan. I'll see you guys soon.
All right, bye.
Bye. And guys, I have a few other people in the room who they get to say goodbye to. Thank you guys again so much for everybody. We have 514 in the room. This is getting bigger and better every time. I really appreciate you guys so much. Thank you. Please like this video. It helps tremendously. And also, guys, again, I said this at the very beginning, but today's 9/11. So please just, our hearts are with everybody who just was a part of the world. I was in 3rd grade and it changed a lot of people's lives forever, and it changed our country for forever. So just be aware today, Okay. Love you guys. And we're going to bring up the other people. Oh, I guess everybody thought that they were being cut. Just kidding. Hi, Erica. Before I let you go, do you want to say anything?
I guess my final on the reunion, it's kind of hard for me to feel bad for Ramona and like how Dorinda digs at Ramona because of how Ramona acts and like social media and everything. So it makes it difficult for me to care. Like you said, like how Ramona would dig at Sonya's weight and stuff. I'm kind of like, it's hard for me to feel bad for you because of how you act.
To sympathize with Ramona.
Mm-hmm. But
yeah,
I really want to see Leah call Ramona out on how she treated her sister.
That's a good one. And my prediction this whole time for the reunion has been that since Elise was not able to show up to the reunion, which a lot of people think is thanks to Ramona, I feel like Leah and Elise are best friends now, and Leah is going to show up and act as a mouthpiece on behalf of Elise in the way that Ramona treated her. And I hope that we get to see that too.
Yeah, I do too. But I love your show.
Well,
I'm so glad that I finally called in.
Well, thank you, Erica. Again, we'll keep you around. And if you're around later at 1 p.m., we're doing Popping Off with Pop. So we'll see you then.
All right, cool. Bye.
All right, bye. All right, guys. Thank you again so much. Wow, over 500 in the room. Again, guys, love you guys so much. If you haven't already, the merch store's up. So Sip, Don't Spill mugs up. We're doing Cheryl's World tonight for the block party at 7 p.m. We have another busy day. And I did my interview this week with Real Housewives of Dallas, OG Leanne Loughlin, and it's coming out on Saturday. So tomorrow I'm going to be posting it while I'm traveling back up to see Pops in NorCal. So bye, guys. See you later. Oh, and thank you so much for the super stickers, everybody. And thank you, Jamie. Wow. Thank you, Jamie. I don't want to forget anybody. Thank you, guys. We have a busy day. I'll never forget you. Love you guys. Thank you, thank you, thank you.